Oh, Biz with the
Is it
paper
on
football.
Biz?
It is with
Yeah,
the
see,
paper football
I
touchdown.
would drink for that.
You would have to drink.
Yep.
See, in my
Yep.
game,
The whole cup.
Biz saves.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
my
yeah,
game,
yeah,
Biz saves you from drinking.
yeah.
In your game, Biz makes
This
you
is always
drink.
a bad thing.
It
When you
always is
say it,
bad.
whether you
Yeah. So Biz
lay
is
it,
always bad
put
in the
put
way
it
you
on the
do it.
table, yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah.
interesting. Very interesting.
Visual buzz, yeah.
For the past 3 decades, I have had a not so secret obsession simmering beneath the layers of an average American life. The time has come to seek the community of like minded true believers. This is the road to Beard Eye Nation. Episode 9 The Electrician's Interview. I don't know if you remember from episode 4, Blinded by the Lights, my story of a friend in my neighborhood from Massachusetts who grew up playing Beard Eye when he was in high school. My experience learning how he played the game was the spark that set this whole project into motion, albeit 8 years after we played that game. So this first season would not be complete without hearing his story.
I always start with the oldest person at the table tossing, and that's me, right? So you went to high school when?
Graduation year 2000.
2000. Okay. So did you start playing Beard Eye in high school, or was it after high school?
Oh no, it was in high school.
In high school.
Yeah,
So
because
when did you go to high school? Let's start there.
well, and I had to go back to when I was listening to whatever episode you were talking about, you had introduced me
Yeah,
and
right.
known that this was your first time knowing that it was a different game. So I was actually talking with my buddy that was up from Florida just a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "Hey man, did we ever play?" He went to UMass Dartmouth,
Okay.
and I'm like, "Did we ever play Beer Die at your place?" Because I had started having these. You got to remember, my brain at that time was filled with malted hops and barley and
Right.
resin from all kinds of different nefarious things that we used to do. You know what I mean? So the times of drinking, like playing beer die, are completely fuzzy to me. But um, I was like, did we play beer die at your place? And I'm like, I remember the parties. I remember going there. I remember doing, but I'm like, I'm starting to have this recollection of it was not beer die. In fact, it was beer pong.
Oh, okay.
And so this is 2001, 2000, well, no, probably 2002-ish time. So I'm starting to have this recollection of, wait a minute, I think we were my memory was that there was something to do with beer die, but it was specifically, holy shit, they're not playing beer die, they're playing beer pong. This sucks. And me and him were always trying to get people to play beer die, and nobody wanted to. And we were like, fuck this, you know. But and he had a table too in his dorm room. And so, yeah. So
If there is any doubt as to the true believer bona fides of the electrician, I hope that last part puts it to bed. So next we need to know about his Beard Eye awakening.
I was in high school. A friend of ours down the street from my parents' house had a basement very similar to this. Actually, as we were coming down the stairs, I was very nostalgic there for a moment because it was very similar. You'd walk downstairs. They lived in a duplex, so there was a unit on one side, a unit on the other side, and concrete wall, and that's where we played. Ceilings, I think, were a little lower at the time, but this was, this was exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And so they were in college at the time, so they were sophomore, juniors in college.
Okay.
They were quite a bit older than me, and I was hanging out with them because of my brother and his friend, and we all just kind of, they were living down the street, so that's what we did. And then I brought it to my buddies.
Yeah.
And then we started playing with them, and then one of their brothers is of that same age group of the guys that I was playing with, and so he knew as well. So there started to be this group of our age that it bled back from, I think, because you're How many years? What year did you
I
graduate?
graduated high school in 94.
I'd like to interrupt for a second to explain that we did this interview in my basement, where I'd already set up a beer die table in advance of a papal visit coming 3 or 4 days after the recording. I had a couple of wireless microphones that I'd bought a long time ago for a different project I was conceiving and had never used them. So we decided to break these out and see if we could record the interview playing beer die. The whole idea being that in season 2, the Pope and I might take this show on the road. So please excuse the fits and starts and the talking over each other that came about with both of us having a natural conversation with our own microphones. But there's no better way to teach beer die than to actually play beer die. So that's what we decided to do in this episode.
Than I did, but
Um,
where did those guys that lived in the Duke? Where did they go to college? Do you remember?
one
And I'm
of
gonna
them,
start tossing to you. So
yeah. One of them went to
oh come on, not a good
one of
start.
them went to Worcester, Worcester Institute of Technology.
Okay,
Whitty, I think
Okay.
it was called Whitty. I can't remember where the other one went.
and you grew up in Worcester or Lowell? I can't remember.
Near Worcester, right outside of Worcester.
Right outside Worcester.
Yeah,
okay.
like 2 towns west of Worcester, a town called Spencer.
Did the Holy Cross kids play?
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. There were actually, I don't remember if I think I've gone to maybe 1, 2 parties at Holy Cross, but
Look at that guy.
not bad. It's coming right back. Oh no. Yeah, I mean everybody played at the time of when I was in high school at that age, that year. But once we got my age group got into college, it was starting to fizzle out,
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha. So with the way that you did this board, right? So we have your side, like we have one side of the board is done your way, and then my side of the board looks like the side of a subway car because it doesn't matter, and so people write all over it.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah,
where did the measurements
yeah.
come from? Did those guys bring it to you, or you guys just sort of did it?
I think we just sort of did it.
Gotcha.
I don't really know on the I don't even think, did we measure it? We did measure it, right?
You very carefully measured this out.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, obviously midfield, the split is the split, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't really
so
know.
the blue lines, so to speak, they're like, what would you say, 18 inches? in
Yeah,
the corner,
yeah,
it looks like.
yeah.
And then the splits in the middle, and then so if it goes out behind the blue lines, that's a point.
If you land in the landing zone
Yep.
and it goes out anywhere, so you can nick the corner
Yeah.
of the table.
So when you say the
Right.
landing zone,
out.
the die has to hit in the blue line,
Yep.
inside of the blue
Anywhere in
line.
that
If it
blue-
doesn't, so if
Yep.
it lands in the middle of the table, what happens then?
it has to get off the table. If it doesn't get off the table and it lands on biz,
Yeah.
whoever threw it drinks the whole cup.
Drinks the whole cup.
Yep.
If it lands on
Yep.
biz
If it
and doesn't
lands
get
on-
off the
If
table.
it stays on the table,
In the middle, in the
the
neutral
neutral
zone? In the neutral zone or in,
anywhere specifically, but if it bounces here
in the neutral zone? Yep. I'm using hockey
and
terms
stays
just
on
for
the
the
table,
audience, right? Yeah.
and stays on the table, it lands on biz, you drank your whole cup.
If I toss it toward you and it bounces for the first time in your zone,
Uh-huh.
but it stays on the table in your zone,
Mhm.
same thing applies?
Same thing.
Same thing applies.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's gonna come off.
Okay. And then, but if I toss it and it lands in the middle first, in the neutral zone first,
Mhm.
does that matter? Is that like a nullified toss?
Yeah, basically.
It is. Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
has to bounce.
You'll take a sip.
I'll take a sip if I land it in
Yeah.
neutral zone.
Yeah, if it's just a shitty throw, you're taking a sip.
And is there does it matter how much is in my cup? So remember how the way I play, like there's 4
Yeah,
J's.
that's technically the
But you
rules.
guys fudged, you
Yeah.
just fudged
Oh, yeah.
that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think everybody did, otherwise you'd be dead.
I'm
Yeah,
finding that more and more.
yeah. Good one. Gosh,
And
Yeah.
then
good toss.
if you sink it, if you get sunk on, you
Mhm.
finish the dot, you finish the cup, right?
Mhm.
Finish whatever's in there.
Yep.
And then do I have to spit out the die? Is
Yep.
there something with that? And then what happens with that?
Spit the die out. If it lands on anything but biz,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Okay.
If it lands on biz, fill it up and drink again.
I love how your rules are like, yeah, you fudge it because you die otherwise. But then certain things happen. Is like, no, drink twice now.
Oh, yeah.
Drink
Yeah,
whole beers.
yeah, no,
It's like, it's like a difference
it
between,
can turn like that.
yeah,
You know,
like my game tends to be death by 1,000 cuts. Yours is like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Catastrophe.
there's one right there.
So what happened there? You
Throw the die, hit the ceiling, it comes back at me.
okay?
If I can catch it, I can go again.
Oh wow,
Uh-huh.
that's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So it's
So
kind
you
of,
threw it, it hit the ceiling and came back, and you.
if it comes
Now,
back.
I remember you put up a net. You put up like a cord in my garage
Yeah.
back in the other
As long as the table is high, or as high as the table is long.
as high as it goes long.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So if you took the table, stood it up.
So
Then,
basically 8 feet off the ground.
yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you
Obviously,
have to get it
some
above that
places you
cord.
can't,
Yeah.
make
Outside,
that
you
happen.
can't,
You just do whatever.
And you guys always played standing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stand
Because you have to defend. It makes
Way-
sense
way
because you
better.
have to defend. You have to defend more
Yeah.
turf. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you can throw it off
Right,
this
the corner. Yeah, right.
Because
It's anywhere in the
Yeah, yeah.
in the defensive zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be standing to move around the table. I remember when I played with you that night. I remember my thighs being sore after it from going
Yeah,
up
yeah.
and down
Yeah,
so
oh,
much.
yeah.
Like I remember I was like, damn, I'm getting old, and B, I did something here.
Oh. Yeah, it's definitely a little more athletic.
So in
But
that,
as I get older, I was just thinking, kind of sitting down and, ruptured disc and all that stuff. Sitting
Yeah.
down's a little.
you're like, okay, I can deal with this.
Well, our tables are higher too.
Right. Yours, where did we put it? Like, because this is 2 feet off the ground. We do when we're sitting. So basically 3
I
feet,
think like counter height. Yeah.
three,
Yeah.
3.5 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
waist, torso, normal person's torso.
Yeah.
Ooh, Biz with the.
Is it
paper
on Biz?
football- It is. With
Yeah.
the paper football
I
touchdown.
would drink for that.
You would have to drink.
Yep.
See, in my game,
The whole cup.
Biz saves.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah,
my
yeah,
game,
yeah.
Biz saves you from drinking.
Yeah.
In your game, Biz makes
This
you
is
drink.
always a bad thing.
It always is
Say it,
bad.
whether you,
Yeah. So Biz is
Land-
always bad in the way
on
you
the
do it.
table. Yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Biz or buzz. Yeah.
What do you do when the die lands on Buzz? Yeah, I'm glad you
Get another die.
I'm glad you caught that quick. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you caught it. I'm glad you didn't have to think for that for too long.
Almost went down for that one.
You hit my cup, I hit your cup.
You hit mine.
In my game, you drink for that. In your game, I drink for that.
In my game, everybody drinks for
Oh,
that.
everybody drinks for that. No, it's a social. So everybody blows a social.
Yeah.
Not if I'm going for another body blow.
Cup's a cup anytime. And it's also dead die too.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So you can, so if you had caught that, would you make everybody not drink, or just once it hits the cup, it's a social?
Yeah, no, if you catch it, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a cup. Everybody,
Yeah.
everybody playing or everybody in the room?
Everybody playing.
Everybody playing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The room doesn't matter.
Okay. Now in your game, you just for the audio audience, he just tossed and it completely missed the table. In your game, that means nothing, right?
I think I'd have to sip.
You'd have to sip.
Mhm.
Okay. In my game, that would be a drink. That'd be a
Yeah.
quarter of
Again,
a sip.
yeah. I mean, technically a sip. I think things changed a little bit as we were. I don't think we had as official rules as much because it started in a basement.
Yeah,
Right? It started
right.
with a bunch of guys hanging
Right.
out.
And you didn't have anybody. You didn't have a ton of people waiting to get on the table.
Right,
You know what I mean? So it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
really matter,
No.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For all the differences in rules, there are similarities that pervade the congregation of true believers.
I don't remember what. Yeah, I guess we played pretty much the same stuff. But we had 4 corner legs.
Oh, okay. So
building
like that.
building
Yeah.
a table out of. I mean, we went full blown plumber on this thing, and we had plumbing flanges and PVC pipes for legs and all kinds of crazy shit. So
Was it portable? Could you fold it up? No.
not really.
Go there.
So it would fold up, but it was. I think we actually had a 2x4 frame around the bottom. It was solid. I mean,
Yeah.
you could stand on it if you wanted to.
Which I'm sure somebody did. At some point.
Probably, yeah. Or slept on it.
Nice.
Oh, oh, nice.
And it was close.
Yeah.
It was close to stopping on my leg. I kept it
A little
moving,
shake.
but I definitely, sorry. I definitely did not see it after it bounced. I was feeling my age there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so after you guys had these guys from college come in and sort of pass you this game and you made this little group, did it spread in your high school to the point
Oh
where
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. So my high school graduation party was at these guys' house at this duplex. And I mean, we had people, there was a farm, it was an old farm road, right? And there was a old milk farm up on top of the hill, and then another farm down the lower portion. And we were literally shuttling people back and forth down the street, driving out to go get cases and cases and cases of beers. And I think we had beer die tournaments going on, where we had multiple die tables,
Yeah.
and it was just a crazy night. So,
were there just people lining the basement?
oh yeah, yeah. I wish I can dig up some pictures or something eventually and show you. But it was
Oh, nice toss. Nice
it was
toss.
wild.
Damn.
Nice.
And if you don't want to chug, I've got
Oh no, I'll drink it.
I've got
I'll drink it.
no, but if you want to just well, we got loads of game balls. So
No, I'll drink up. I'm good. Now, if I spit it out on Biz, I'm not drinking another one.
no.
Yep, good splash. Oh, that's what
Do you
we
need
did
the,
one
do you need
time.
the cat rag?
We put a thin sheet of like a melamine or something over the top of it one time.
Okay.
We glued it down to it,
Okay.
and
Whole surface?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like a almost like a linoleum, but a harder, more bouncier.
Okay.
It worked out really well.
And it would
It
really
made a great
explode.
sound, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. So I think we spray glued it or rolled some glue on the table, and then put this thing
Also
down.
probably weather protected it for playing outside. Right?
Probably, yeah.
I can see how in a stand-up game, that's going to enhance it a little bit because you get kind of exploding bounces
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you can run for
Yeah,
and whatever.
dive for.
We had one guy, this one apartment, off-campus apartment, they had a table like that. I don't know where in the world they got this thing, but it was just, I don't know if it was a door because it was flat. Like it wasn't like a door is never completely
no, 'cause
flat,
you go
right?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a lot like what you just described. I don't know where in the world they got it. They had it in their living room and they called it the championship table because it would bounce
Oh, yeah.
super high and they loved it. But I'm like, it's novel, but it's like AstroTurf versus natural grass, like if it's going to be a high hop that I can get every time,
Thing stuck.
the game is never going to end because
Yeah,
no one's
yeah.
missing it, so. Oh, you have to chug it if you want, if you
Yeah,
want
there's
to
none
just-
left, so we'll
yeah,
just
we'll just leave it in the cup and we'll keep
Yeah.
playing.
get this.
That was like, that went into the rafters,
Oh, yeah.
didn't touch
Yeah.
the insulation,
Come through,
disappeared.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I followed it the whole way and
Yeah.
splash. Little Zamboni.
Did you guys call that a Zamboni?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah. Or a cat rag, but that if it's Zamboni's the
Yeah,
official,
yeah.
Zamboni's the official term, but
Yes, Zamboni. Yep.
As I continued to talk with our electrician, it began to dawn on me how much having this game imprint on us within a fraternity system has been a benefit for so many years. These organizations are built to not only pass traditions from one generation to the next, but also have a structure whereby you're expected to come back and get together, particularly in the years shortly after being an active member. If my friend here was to do that with his Beard Eye crew from high school, he would be viewed by society as somewhere around Matthew McConaughey's Dazed and Confused character trapped in a bad Bruce Springsteen song. To borrow an idea from His Holiness, our electrician represented a far more isolated tribe of true believers than we considered ourselves to be at Lake Forest. Shit, I had 10 people lined up to chirp on a Zoom session about this from the words, "Hey fellas, maybe as we unearth Beard Eye Nation, it will help be that community for true believers like my friend." Who knows? But as our time continued, the electrician flipped a switch and turned the table on his interviewer.
So your intent is this is season 1 then?
Yeah, yeah. So originally my thought was just get a few episodes out there,
Let's see what
get
happens.
people to be like, "Oh, this is cool. I'd love to have an episode done about
Right.
me."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And then I was talking to my friend, the Pope, and I was like, I kind of recruited him to take a more active role to kind of be my number two
Yeah.
with it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him about it, and he just sort of said, well, maybe in season 1 and season 2. And I was like, I didn't even think about it like that. And I'm like,
really?
oh, that's actually a much better way to do it, is to just do it, have the whole season, then let that generate the buzz to the, no pun intended.
So you were gonna release it as you went.
Yeah, because I recruited all my friends to participate, and I was like, help me prime the pump. Because when I would reach out to people who didn't know me, they're like, what the fuck is this? Like, who are you? Like, I'm not, what am I gonna, you know? But once you get an idea of what happens in the episode, you're like, oh, this is kind of fun. You know, I'd love to tell my stories on this.
So have you've done some research, obviously. You said you reach out to people. Have you found or started to run down the trail? Because I remember a long time ago, me and you talked about this.
Yeah.
Trying to find the origins
Yeah.
of it. And that I think would be really awesome.
How much do
where
you
did it really come from?
How much do you want season 1 ruined for you before I release it?
No way, really? So you found it. You found the origins. Are you sure though? Like, how sure are you?
How can you be sure?
Well, I guess. But does some guy just claim that he's the originator? That's what it is, isn't it? No, don't tell me. I don't want to know. Yeah. No, because I want to, I'd love to find out. I don't want to know like the details for sure.
But that's the big season finale kind of thing that's going to be like,
oh yeah.
So if you think you're too good to be on my podcast, guess who was? You know, you're getting line behind him.
So he thinks he's the original.
There's some guys that have done some serious research on this, and I've reached out to them a bunch.
Oh really?
Yeah, and they were like, they used to organize like Beard Eye tournaments in Chicago, I want to say, but they're very cagey about who they are and what they are and whatever. And so if I can turn them, they said that they always said they're interested, but when it's funny, when it's an if, everybody's down.
Sure, yeah.
Once that if turns into a when, everybody's gone. No one's, you know, so it's we'll see.
I'm just trying to lock people down for
and now these guys
have their normal
and now
routine.
And now these guys have families, so they're not, you know, they don't have 24/7 to just entertain themselves.
Weekend.
So, but that's my hope is that people see this and they'll be like, yeah, you want to do an episode about us? Yeah, definitely, I'm in. You know,
that'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
So we are going to do a live event this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of
that'd be awesome. Yeah,
it's kind of our usual. We do an every other year reunion with friends of mine from my fraternity where we basically play beard and sit around like it's nothing crazy. But I was like, okay, in lieu of that, we're gonna do it this summer, and we're gonna call it Beard Eye Nation 1.
Nice, yeah.
And we're gonna get, you know what I mean, and just have it. And who cares? Like again, as long as I don't lose money on it. I only need 4 people to come. That's all I need. That's all I need to be satisfied. But we're going to try to do that, and that way, you know, I view this as like, imagine having like almost like a Beard Eye convention where it's like, okay, over here we're playing these rules, playing that rule, and maybe you rotate through playing rules, and you build up your ranking for the tournament, and then eventually when the playoffs come, if you're seated higher, you pick the rule or whatever. But just like an exchange, a cultural exchange of this crap, right? With people who, you know, it's funny, like once you know someone is into Beard Eye, like that for you, like it doesn't like you didn't need to know much more about me, and you didn't even care,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
you're like, oh, I get it. I get him. I get him on a level that it doesn't matter now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why not cultivate that?
Right.
And then maybe is it a director who is like, oh, I'm in a town. What's the Seattle beard I see? Like, I don't know. Who knows, right? But
Yeah.
but that's the idea of figuring out what Beard Eye Nation really looks like, you know?
So many things just went through my head, like when you were talking about that and that tournament and the different rules and things. So now I'm so much more intrigued about this guy.
Oh,
that,
got it.
that
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, what were his rules and
Right.
which one came first?
Yeah, right.
The chicken or the egg?
Right,
The law of the
exactly.
high table.
Exactly.
And so, but don't tell me any of it because I want to hear it for myself. So yeah, that's great.
Concrete jungle, pavement rough, where the challengers strut their stuff. Red solo cups and dice that fly beneath the endless open sky. A sink is a sink, we all dive in.
The Road to Beard Eye Nation is produced by the 9 Stories Up Investigative Department in association with Beanbag Studios. If you think you know a true believer, please let them know about the show. If you think you may be a true believer, please give us a Biz Star rating. If you think you may be part of the choir, please reach out to us via email at beardeyenationpodcast@gmail.com or Beard Eye Nation on the major social media outlets so we can tell your story in a future episode. The first Beard Eye Nation live reunion is taking place this July in the Chicago area. Please email us for more details or check out our website, beardeyenation.com. And finally, I'd like to thank our new electrician who had an editing request I hadn't heard in biz years of podcasting.
I hope you don't cut. Like because I suck so bad tonight. You could cut this thing and just hear me going, "Oh shit, shit, right, shit," every toss. Shit.
Maybe I'll do that for the outtake at the end of the credits.
Yeah, there you go.
We weren't keeping score, but in case you wanted to know what's happening,
know who lost. I would have put that
Yeah.
one in. Oh, come on.
I got it.
Oh, shit. Oh, died. Ooh, damn, that was a good thing turned.
Yeah.
Thought I had an eye on it.